So I'm Chris Craddock. I'm with Rocket Star, and I'd like to show you guys what we're going to do here, and with the help of Speed in the back, I think we have a video for this. Yeah, we'll start there. So for those of you at home, turn up your speakers, get ready to scare your neighbors, and hopefully we can blow out the speakers here. Thank you, Eric. So, Major Speed, thank you. I think everyone is kind of curious what shirt you wear right now. So that was an Aerospike. And I want to thank my friends at the Stony Brook Alumni Association here at San Francisco, because they kind of like trying to get their mind around what it looks like, and that pretty much did it. So let's back up. Let's define what is a rocket. And a rocket basically has 5 different parts of the rocket engine. You have the fuel, oxidizer, pumps, combustion chamber, and the nozzle. For the purpose of our feasibility study, we just focused on the nozzle. And for the purpose of time, let's just go to the next slide. So, Speed, are you running that or am I doing that? Okay. Up arrow. Where is the up arrow? There it is. Okay. I just want to go back a couple of slides because there's some really amazing people that I've gotten a chance to work with here. Dr. Purwar, Dr. Mamalis, and hopefully soon to be Dr. Jain. When I got my SPR done, I basically had to send one email, and within 30 days it got back to me. No problem whatsoever. These guys did an amazing job of making it a seamless project to get it done. And through help of Stony Brook University, we've gotten a lot of progress through this. So backing up. So the goal basically was to design a single stage to orbit rocket engine. This has been tried many times in the past, so we wanted to first do a feasibility study to figure out, can this work? Is it feasible with today's technology? So we went through a lot of different manufacturing design from different companies and from different things, different papers that were already out there. And now going a little bit further to what I was talking about prior, which was we focused on the nozzle. Now, this basically is just a subset of what the different nozzles are. You have a cone and a bell, which is your traditional ones. The cone, nobody really uses because of, as you can see, it's much bigger than the bell, so it adds weight. Nobody wants weight when they're trying to take off from a launch pad. So what most people use currently, what most corporations and governments use, is the bell. What we were looking at is what's called a spike. And the major difference between the two is you'll have the combustion chamber just push out the exhaust into the bell and then have an exit outside of the bell, versus you have the combustion chambers outside of the spike pushing down the propellants over the sides of the spike. And I'm good. Oh, thank you, Speed. They just press right and left. Oh, it works. Awesome. Okay. Again, just just as a basic overview, so just get an understanding, and obviously this is a nozzle, and I think there's plenty of engineers out there who understand how this works, but I just really want to focus on this thing here, which is the exit pressure. That's an important problem that needs to be overcome, and I'll mention that in a moment. Important technical terms, you guys probably all know all this. Okay, this is what I like, pictures. There's basically 3 different types of Aerospike engines. You have the annular nozzle, which is all the way on the right. Looks great, looks cute, looks like some of the stuff we see on the Jetsons, but with the use of the entire spike, it's heavy. So the scalability of moving it up into something that would lift large payloads, you have to deal with a compensation of weight. 2 left ones are truncated nozzle Aerospikes, where it's creating a virtual spike at the end, but you're saving on weight, you're saving on cost, you're saving on fuel. What you notice between the 2 that they share on the left is that they have multiple stage combustion chambers on the outside where it creates a cluster format. That's good for a number of reasons, bad for a number of reasons. Good for the reason that if one shuts down, you can choose between 19 or 12 other ones to turn on. Bad for manufacturing because it's difficult to make this into a nice seamless process, which is one of the reasons why we still use the bell to this day, because it's easy to put together. So this kind of goes over, oh, let's go back. Was that me or was that you, Speed? Okay, that's me, okay. Just to go over briefly the flow that happens in an Aerospike, and this is kind of like a nice little subset picture. It applies to most all of them. You'll have an initial flow on the outside, which I was talking about earlier. We have the combustion chamber that flows down the outside of the spike. But then, as you well know, there's a vacuum produced on the inside. So to overcome that, we do what's called a base bleed, or some various different forms to create a secondary thrust in the interior. And I'm going to go into shortly why we do that, if this works. Oh no, it doesn't work anymore. Adapt and overcome, right? So,
you want to go forward one slide?
Yes.
See what we can do with
human interaction, human input versus autonomy.
Did that work?
Let's just go here. Yeah, this is kind of what I've been building towards and kind of like hinting at, but this is a nice comparison between bells and Aerospikes. The problem with bells is they are optimal at a certain altitude and that altitude only. So when you're in a launch pad and when you need the most amount of thrust, you need the most amount of efficiency, you're running up against the ambient air pressure that pinches your plume and causes loss of thrust. So you're expending all of this power, all of this energy, and all this money to get off the launch pad, and you're not doing it efficiently. The Aerospike doesn't have to worry about that because it compensates for the outside air pressure because there is no exit pressure from what happens in the bell because it's already on the outside, it's already equivalent. In addition, because of the shock waves and the ambient airflow in the center and the base bleed, you have a secondary thrust to help you get off the launch pad. Now, they both come into their own when they're up in the air. That's great, but I want to get my payload off the ground, so that's what's the most important part. And then lastly, what's also most important, I don't have to keep throwing away my rocket every time I put it up. And that's one of the reasons why we do that with the Bell is because of the fact that it can't compensate for the higher altitude when your plume gets larger. The Aerospike does that because of the fact there is no difference between the outside and the inside. Let's go a little faster here. Yeah, just try it once. Yeah. Okay. A couple of things that are good with Aerospikes is thrust vectoring. Something you can't do with a traditional bell nozzle. By just varying the difference from one side to the other, you can create pitch up or pitch down. And just to go over some briefly, as we can see through data here, the data on the right is all data that's actually happened. The efficiency between the nozzle and the Aerospike has a great advantage over the bell, as shown here. On the left, you have flight test data. The blue line shows, the solid line shows actual flight test data, but as you can see, there hasn't been a lot of flight test data over higher altitudes. But the assumption is that it will continue on that nice straight line, or even if it's something down like 10 or 20%, it's still better than having to ditch and put something else in. And the last one on the bottom right, this is clear data that shows the Aerospike is between 30 to 40% better than a traditional Bell-shaped nozzle. So I have to go straight to questions now, so we'll just do that in interest of time.
All right. Thank you. So yeah, so once again, thank you, Speed.
Yeah.
The basic question is, how are you building a company around this, and where are you in that process?
That is a very expansive question.
We have an expansive nozzle. So.
Yes, we do, thankfully. Originally, what I wanted to do was build a rocket company to do exactly what Virgin Galactic and Elon Musk are doing. But the problem with that was I wasn't a billionaire. I didn't know anybody who was a billionaire, so I had to figure out a way to still get in there and still service that economy. Thankfully, those people did make what they were making, so by creating this technology, I don't want to compete with them. I don't want to make rockets. I just want to be the guy that makes the engine that they can rely on, that they can use on their rocketry to get from here to low Earth orbit at one shot, drop their payload, come back down, refuel, go back up again. So in effect, turning the rocket industry into an airline industry.
Thanks.
I guess you get a lot of lessons from the X-33. With
Yeah.
I guess the major issue there was the leaking from the exotic composite tanks in
Yes.
different shapes. But
That's one of the slides I didn't get to, but yeah. That's,
so the test data, is that some of that from X-33?
a lot of it is. The ISP, the thrust, a lot of that data came from there. But there's been a lot of work on this particular project for a very long time. Rocketdyne was the one that originally pioneered it. Black Sky worked on it, Caltech, I believe NASA did it at Dryden. So there's a lot of information out there. I think it kind of begs the question, why is it not up there already? And I believe the answer to that is, when you're building a rocket company like some of these private companies have done, you're trying to cut costs as much as possible to make sure you can stay alive. And especially when your costs are hundreds of millions of dollars, that's really essential. You kind of want to work with things that are already in use and kind of retask them and make sure you don't have to worry about that. I have to just worry about my pin injector or something like that. We kind of need people to do the R&D and make sure that it works before somebody uses it. But that's starting to mature, and there's a company that just came out that, as I was starting to build my company, called Firefly, that is doing something, again, different to what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to provide the engine. They want to do soup to nuts Aerospike rocket itself.
Yeah, you might look at Spaceship 2 with their,
Yeah.
Especially since Virgin wants to go to orbit eventually. But
Yeah, how do I put this appropriately? We're kind of in talks with them, kind of.
Yeah, Richard Blomquist from Red Canyon. So how close are you to, I want to find out how close you are to actually getting to where you need to be to go from single stage to orbit. What is your required thrust, and what have you shown, and how many stages is there to get to the point where you have what you need?
We just finished the feasibility study. We're in the middle of doing computer-assisted design and modeling. We just, I think Anurag just texted me a few days ago. They're starting to work with which supercomputers to use, because on top of all the CFD analysis, we have to worry about what composites we're going to use, et cetera. But we have a good idea of where we want to be with that, and we assume that by early next summer we'll be a prototype, and then ultimate testing and manufacturing will commence from there.
Okay. So the people you're working with, they've had experience actually doing tests
Yes.
of this particular thing, though. So
Yes.
what have they done? Is it a thrust to mass ratio kind of a number that you use, or what kind of numbers have they shown?
Again, we're kind of going off of previous data. We have our own data that we're kind of keeping quiet right now. But to answer your question, like on the experience of the people I'm working with, Anurag's with Raytheon, a couple other government contractors, and other people that I can't talk about. Soterius used to do combustion for GM, so they have a very good process of just pushing this through. They know the people to talk to. They know the people to manufacture. They know how to do it cost effectively. So we just have to get through those steps to get to the other side of the tunnel.
Thanks. Is there another question?
So Elon Musk, who, as we know, is the most successful recent rocket entrepreneur, does things in a way that are opposite to what you propose. He makes many small Bell engines that he disposes of, and he stages. So what's he got wrong?
I talked to him about it. Unbeknownst to me, they've been working on it internally. But he did ask me for some video of a burn test and some corroborating data. But I believe why he went that route initially is what I spoke about earlier. It's tried and tested versus having to come up with something completely brand new and test that as well. So I kind of didn't answer your question, so ask me again.
No, I agree with you. One engine and just one for the whole rocket is very, very enticing.
Yeah.
But the Space Shuttle main engine was a single-stage orbit engine. It was a Bell engine, and you set that aside. But Elon Musk makes many small engines. His competition is scrambling to develop an engine that's an order of magnitude more capable for their vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's tough to argue with his success, where he just makes a lot of low ISP. I think it's kerosene he uses.
Yep.
So he makes like really traditional basic engines, and he's the most successful guy in rockets in decades.
Thanks. And I think we'll leave that as an excellent question for the design challenge, because it basically does this. How do you create a company? Do you take something dumb as rocks you know it's going to work, create a product, get it launched,
right,
or do you start with a new technology or even new physics and push that? And so that's I call them entrepreneurial paradoxes, and that's one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for that, and we'll pick up this conversation later. So thank you.
You.
On to